In this section, let's look into how to plan short-term liquidity for a corporate restructuring project. So after completing this playlist, you will know how to build this financial status, how to forecast 13 weeks of liquidity, and all this from a complex input structure as you can see over here. Now this video is part of a broader project case study, the approach slide to which you can see here, and I'll also make sure to put a link in the description below. So let's kick this off with a suggestion for you how to get most out of this video. Then we will look into the financial status, the liquidity forecast, just as mentioned, top 10 payables and receivables. For the payables, we also will consider some deferrals. I'll give to you an overview of the financing parties, and eventually I'll wrap this up by summarizing the measures that were already applied or that are about to be applied in this case study. So here's what I suggest. I encourage you to challenge what I do and do things your own way. So watch me complete some steps to understand the basic idea, but then build things your own way. And if something doesn't work out for you, just check against the final version. So for the financial status, we are contrasting the balances, so what you get in the bank, plus the available overdraft facility that you may have, which then gives us the available liquidity in total, with the due external payments, which amount to some 3.2 million in this case. And this then gives us a free liquidity of minus 1.5 million, so a gap in short-term liquidity actually. And one way to close this is to ask the wholesale business to sell off their outstanding payments at a factoring fee of presumably 15%, which would then provide us with 85% of those 3.4 million, resulting in 2.9 million, which would be sufficient to close this gap in free liquidity. Now our 13 weeks liquidity forecast chart made it from the Excel model to the PowerPoint slide, and as you can see here, we get this maximum gap of 1.4 million at the very right that we need to close. So it's 3.4 million negative in liquidity in blue, minus a buffer of 1.2 million, that's 2 times payroll for a month, which is an arbitrary assumption, but something you can do. And then this gives us some minus 4.6 that we need to contrast with the overdraft facility of minus 3.2. And then this gives us a gap of 1.4. Here, I suggest to ask the banks for fresh money to safeguard liquidity that could be secured with some of old-fashioned assets. And the reason for that is, as we'll see in a second, the client already applied deferrals as a means of improving liquidity, so here we should go with something else. Sometimes it happens that a client already applied a set of measures before you arrived, and this is also the case here. So these guys, they deferred some payments, and these were also accounted for in the liquidity chart that we just saw. So as you can see here, this makes the situation already a bit better, because on the right hand side you can see that thing is gone, as all the payables of internal suppliers have been deferred, just as the payables of 2 external suppliers, but these didn't make it into the top 10 anyway. Now we also get such a heat map for the receivables, and these are clearly dominated by internal customer old-fashioned wholesale GmbH, which is a B2B business. So here please note that B2C customers usually pay directly in stores, which is why we do not have any receivables from these B2C customers, but just from the B2B business, the wholesale GmbH Limited for short. And besides that, we get some more receivables from other players who buy old collections from old-fashioned for sale in non-core markets. In case this doesn't make too much sense to you right now, check out the legal structure of old-fashioned that I explained in another video, so I'll put a link to that in the description below. It's also best practice to give an overview of the financing parties in one slide, and the reason for that is these current accounts and loans are usually detailed in long PDF files, so it's just handy to have this in one place. And here it's important to remember that Bank C grants the overdraft facility to old-fashioned, and the midterm loans are provided by banks C and D. So summing up, we saw 3 liquidity measures around here. Factoring and fresh money are 2 things that we propose, and deferrals we already saw applied. So let's head over to the Excel model, build all this, and I'll see you in the next video.